I know, music during the Sphera. It's not a real thing, by the way. Look at this. Music during the Sphera. It's not an actual prohibition. It's just a custom. Not listening to music during the counting of the Omer. Let's see. I usually don't go live at this time of the day. And I know the freaks come out at night. So who's around in the daytime? Okay. Let's do this quick. I guess this is an alternative to people who don't want to go to church. Right? Do people go to mosque on Sunday morning? Maybe. Do you guys daven every day there like Jews do? I guess you do. Welcome. 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 Let's do it. Let's try to do a quick 30 minutes of question and answers, of challenges, right? I'm going to visit a mosque. What should I expect? Heck should I know? Look at that. Right when I read that, like my background changed. Is that hashgacha pratis or what? I'm in Australia. Welcome, welcome. Also, it's nighttime there. Also, that does count for freakhood. Right, I'm thinking everyone's Eastern Standard Time. Yes, if it's nighttime where you're at, you constitute as one of the freaks. Welcome, welcome. 1:45 here. I have friends in Australia. Yeah. So yeah, guys, if for some reason this show has encouraged you to consider looking into Judaism, let us know. It'd be nice to hear that we're in some way making a difference. I would say a quarter of the people on here probably never heard that people could become Jewish. And I'm just here stating the obvious. It's not like, it seems like I'm inventing electricity or discovering electricity, but yeah, this is just whatever. Sometimes there's an aspect of your religion that people just don't touch on, and it's just like the most impactful one. Even my non-Jewish friends are becoming interested. That's what's up. What, because of this show? Come on. Really? Guys, like and follow the more. Here, let's put some, I wonder like if I put music that's not sanctioned by TikTok, it would limit my followers. Yes, music during the Sphera. It's just a minhag, it's not a halacha, for those who know what I'm talking about.
How's it going?
Welcome, Patang. All right.
So I was trying to convert to Judaism. I'm actually a Muslim, right?
Yeah.
And when I went to the rabbi in the synagogue, he told me that you have to be a born Jewish. You can convert to Judaism.
Yeah, that's equivalent to me going to a mosque and an imam telling me that Joseph Smith is the final prophet and messenger. That's so odd that it's so, I mean, there's characters in our Bible who converted. Now, I'm not saying that every rabbi is nice to converts, but they won't deny that conversion is a thing. So I don't, yeah, I can't validate your experience. I mean, like maybe, I don't know. It's hard to, to fathom.
Well, I guess no. That rabbi was very nice because he told me that you have like 3 prayers instead of 5 prayers. Is that true?
No, we have 5 prayers.
You have 5 prayers?
Yeah, so most people don't know this. It's similar to Islam. Islam actually has 5 prayers, but most Muslims, they lump it into 3 segments. So we actually have 5 prayers, but we lump it into 3 segments. So we call it, whatever, by Ashkenazim, Shachris, Mincha, Maariv, right? Shacharit, Mincha, and Arvit. But there's 5 different prayer times. The Shema has a different prayer time than the Amidah in the morning prayer, and then the Amidah in the daytime has a different time than the other prayers. And then in the evening, the Shema and the Amidah have like a different zman to it. I would say like a different time to it. So it's technically 5 prayers, but we lump it into 3 segments. So there you go. Right, yeah. But the evening one is optional. Yes, I mean someone wrote there. Right, it's called the reshut. That means like nowadays, most people don't make a distinction, but yes, if for some reason you can't pray the evening prayer, you could skip it.
Yeah, I mean, well, I was told that, you can't be a convert because you have to be born Jew.
Yeah, that's incorrect. It's incorrect. I mean, whatever. If you may
Yeah,
have heard,
and
yeah.
yeah, and you can't eat pork, right? You cannot eat pork.
Well, pork you could eat. No, I'm kidding. No, yeah, no, pork you can't eat. As tasty as pork is, yes.
Yeah, but you can like drink alcohol, but you can't eat pork. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, you could drink alcohol. Alcoholism is frowned upon. Now, do Jews drink a little more than they're supposed to? Some of them, yeah, for sure. But it's everyone in the
But
Bible.
I mean, to be honest, like I think even the alcohol, just because previously, I mean, alcohol was banned from the time of Prophet Muhammad. When those there were people that were being drunk, and two people got killed, and when they came to Prophet Muhammad, and then Prophet Muhammad said, "I'm gonna come back to you." And then after maybe a week, the message was sent to by Prophet Muhammad that that alcohol that you were drinking is not, the paradise alcohol is not the same alcohol as what we are drinking. So
It's
that's
stronger.
why God has forbidden alcohol. In the Quran, it said that all when in all these four books, it should be forbidden.
Yeah. But this is why Islam is a different religion. God actually tells us to drink in a weird manner.
Well, no. I mean, before it was allowed. So just because people are like killing someone because they're drunk, or people like raping someone.
No, for sure. Yeah, but that could be with anything. I mean, if you eat too much, you could get a heart attack. Does that mean that we should outlaw food? It's kind of
Yeah.
it's I don't know, like biblical Twitter. It's censorship. It's crossing the line, and a lot of these things really should be left up to one's own discretion. And that goes for even things that Jews take out of line, like we have something called lashon hara, right? So lashon
Yeah.
hara is evil speech. So some rabbis took it upon themselves to write whole books on it, and people walk around thinking that they can't even say something nice about somebody. But the actual law tells you to use common sense and not be a gossip, whatever that may mean. So some people think that overreach and laws encompassing every area of your life is sophisticated. And I think it's primitive. I mean, I think when you expect your people to use common sense, it helps them grow faster than if everything you teach, or covers every aspect of their life. It's like they can't breathe. And Judaism has fallen into that trap as well. But Jewish law is Jewish law, and if it's not prohibited in Jewish law, you're allowed to do it, even though it may
No,
not be
no. I
biblical.
mean, sir, like what I'm trying to tell you is that before when even in the time of Jesus, you're allowed to drink it.
No, right, according to Islam, right, but I'm not a Muslim.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually not according to Islam. It's according to the four Old Testament.
Really? Where?
Because it's like when you drink alcohol, you depend on something. When you drink alcohol, you depend on sex, right? When you if you don't get sex, you will rape someone, right?
No, not necessarily. I
Well,
mean,
no, I mean, some people do it, right? Some people do it.
all right.
Some crazy people.
Oh wait, I'm talking about crazy people. There's someone asking me how's my boyfriend doing? I am not a homosexual, guys. I probably broke a lot of hearts by saying that, but no, I like women. Yes, so in the Torah itself, God actually says that it's a nice thing to drink. There's a statement in Deuteronomy that one of the things that God expects us to waste the money or to spend our money that we put aside for Jerusalem, because there's the whole notion of the Hajj, right, was taken from the Jews. So we also had a
Yeah.
pilgrimage that we had to.
But hey, my charge is 4%. I really have to go.
That's not true,
Uh,
Rabbi.
we'll
Yeah,
talk to you
that's not
later,
true.
sir.
The house is not
Bye.
taken from the Jews, right?
All right, hold on. Just let me finish my thought before I lose it. So the
Okay.
notion of pilgrimage first appeared in the Jewish Bible, that Jews had to visit the Mishkan, i.e. now it's Jerusalem, 3 times a year. And they had to set money apart to spend during that trip. So one of the things that God says that we could spend their money on, he says it's strong drink. Strong drink, whether it's arak or whatever your Zima or whatever drink you happen to drink, Cisco, Bartles and James, right? Well, these aren't kosher, at least. It has great products. So there, God is telling you to use discretion, because in the same Torah, God talks about the wayward child. That one of the things that gets him to act up is that he's a drunk. It also talks about Noah and the drunkenness of Lot. So only because something is permissible doesn't mean it's always beneficial. And that's something that I think makes Judaism superior, because it doesn't do all the thinking for you. It's just like a child. Will you tell him enough for him to in some way stumble a little and internalize the message? So
superior to what, though? I mean, superior to what? Are you claiming that Judaism is superior to all religions? Because I've heard you, and a few times you've said this. Someone asked you which is closer to Judaism, Christianity or Islam, and you said Christianity, because we believe in the same God. Okay, so then you believe in 3 in 1. You believe that? No, obviously not. Because my point is that Jews can go to the mosque and pray. It's allowed, right? So you can deny that wherever you want, but you're not allowed to go to the churches to pray. And then I've heard you say this a few times, where you said that Christianity is closer to Judaism than Islam. Okay. So then, obviously, if you're claiming that, then you're claiming that you agree with, because a basic tenet would be someone.
Let me explain, because I don't blame you. Like most people who quote me do it incomplete, right, in an incomplete manner. So I believe Islam is closer to Judaism regarding practice. I believe Christianity is closer to Judaism regarding theology. So they're both. However, I would encourage someone to become an ethical Christian over an ethical Muslim. However, if the alternative is atheism, I would encourage them to become an ethical Muslim. So I think Islam is good and Christianity is good. I just think Judaism is better. But I disagree with both Islam and Christianity.
Okay. So what about judges? Because you bear in what sense? Because I mean, we can break this down, and it's a debate that you can carry on forever. Because Islam, we do believe in the Jews and the Christian and the books, but we believe that they've been altered.
Yeah, so you believe in your version of it.
No, because we don't have any version of the Bibles. We don't have a version of the Torah. We don't have a version of the Christian book, the Bible or Injil, as we call it. The Quran is separate to those. So the Quran doesn't.
You paint. You appropriate these characters. That means, in your mind, according to your text, Noah could never have drank liquor, right? So that means your Noah is different from my Noah. Yeah. Your Jesus wasn't, didn't resurrect, right? I mean, it's a different Jesus, it's a different Noah, it's a different Moses, right? It's essentially a different rendition of these characters, so it's a different version.
Yes, it's a different concept, because we don't believe, unlike you, we don't believe that the prophets can sin. We believe that they're sinless. So whereas you believe that your prophets can commit sin, right, committed adultery, broke the commandments, and they're messengers from God. But we don't believe that. We believe someone that's a messenger of God is pure, and they're the best of mankind. So they're sent to lead mankind. So therefore, a prophet cannot be led astray. He can maybe make a mistake. He can make a mistake and atone for it.
Okay, but what's the incentive? Just let me respond to that. I mean, just because I want to keep like one point. What's the incentive of Jews changing the Torah to make it seem that prophets do sin? I mean, just because Jews are wicked and want an outlet for sin?
No, because the book, the stories are incomplete. I mean, some of the stories, like let's take Lut, the story of Lot in the Old Testament. What's the moral outcome of the story? It just stops. There's no moral outcome. A story is something bad happened or something good happened, and there's a moral outcome at the end of it. Something's
not always.
There's a moral story, but there's some of the stories in the Old Testament. Does this finish? And that's the Christian version. And in the Torah, the same thing. There's gaps in there. So why is God telling you a story, sending you a message? What's the purpose of the story? It's to lead mankind, not just to leave an incomplete story and then
Wait,
leave it on you to use your brain to decipher what you think it means. But then that's not really leading someone, is it? That's
okay,
just
yeah, yeah.
it's just one telling a
So
story, and that's
the
it.
book of Genesis is there to give us a historical account on what led up to Mount Sinai, to the laws that actually don't change. In reality, in life, there isn't always a moral outcome to everything. Some stories are incomplete, and some things just happen for the sake of happening. If you in some way embellish a text, and Islam being the last of the three major monotheistic religions does that the best. It took what seems to be gaps in Christianity and in Judaism, and it filled them in. And in that way, it claimed to be complete and the final rendition of the Word of God. But that's the benefit that a later religion has. It actually, if Jews actually altered the Torah and corrupted the Torah, you figured that they would have done that to the beginning. If they were truly in the business of creative writing, well, they could have changed it and filled in the gaps. But they believed, and I think rightly so, that if you leave it the way it is, warts and all, right, that speaks more for authenticity than someone who clearly altered it to make it seem more palatable.
But then you have a big problem there, because
Yeah.
you are saying that every single rabbi that has been to from the beginning to the end, you understand their thinking, and then there's a chain of narration that's sort of that you can follow, but you can't because there's so many gaps. Because
No, I didn't say that.
when was the Torah first written as a book, as in the first book form, not the manuscripts, not the scrolls, but as a book? When was it first written?
Okay, wait. But just to respond to your previous statement, I never said that all the rabbis have some sort of monolithic understanding of the Bible. There's a Torah as we have it today, okay? And every Torah in the Orthodox Jewish world is virtually identical, with the exception of one extra letter here or something like that. For the most part, they're all the same. Truth be told, the Torah doesn't say that there were 5 books given. It says that there is a law, right? So the commandments within the Torah is really what the Torah is. There's a commandment in the Jewish world that every Jewish person had to write a Torah scroll for themselves. Every king had to write 2 Torah scrolls. Do we have a Torah scroll nowadays signed by Moses, like I signed? No, right? Because that's a benefit, or that's a result of having a text that's over 3,000 years old versus a text that's only 1,200 years old or 1,300 years old, right? That cloth or papyri, it depends. Cloth is animal based. I think papyri is a plant based. Texts don't last that long because they corrode. Clearly, we don't. What makes our religion great is not that we have a book that says it was written by Moses. Is rather we have a book that can claim to have a part in civilizing this world. It's the main book. I'm not saying the only book. It's the main book that has civilized society. That's what makes and breaks our religion. Not whether I can prove that it was, or that even Moses existed. I mean, it doesn't make or break my religion at all. I mean, I think it makes and breaks Islam because I think Islam solidifies itself with trivial matters instead of what actually counts, which is ethics.
And it's not trivial matters. If you look at look at Islam, I know Judaism has something similar, I guess, right? But Christianity doesn't have this, right? Where if you look at Islam from the moment of birth till the time you die, everything is mapped out for you. What to do when someone's born, so when you matured, how to get married, how to get education, how to get divorced, all the stuff, all the rights, all the laws are there. But in Christianity, it's a bit of a muddle. But so what we believe is that the Quran is a continuation of the Abrahamic faith. But my problem is this, I'm not sure if you do this or not, but I've come across a few rabbis where they agree with what the Quran says. They say obviously they believe that perhaps Muhammad was a prophet. Then you get some that say no, these people are just copying they've taken the Torah and the Bible and they've mixed it and they've created the Quran, which we can disprove in 2 minutes. I mean, it doesn't even take long. When you read the Quran and you read that there's no contradictions, and people try to point out contradictions, and it's they come up with half and version. It's nonsense, right? So, and then you get people that say that that only the Jews will be saved. That they're the chosen people, and the rest are just like basically don't have a soul. But obviously, there's different variations in the religion. Whereas Islam, we believe that anyone that believe the only thing that you can't go against is the oneness of God. So I don't get how the Christians come and say to us that we worship pagans. You understand? They said that
Listen,
yeah.
but Judaism is very similar to Islam from that perspective. Judaism was universal at its inception. Mount Sinai, there was more non-Jews, non-Hebrews than people of an Abrahamic pedigree. It says there was a mixed multitude of peoples. It didn't separate the world between Hebrews and non-Hebrews, but between people in a covenant and people not in a covenant. So I know Islam portrays itself as the only option for the rest of humanity, that Jews believe that Torah is only for Jews. I mean, look at my headline. According to Jewish law, you could become Jewish and be fully.
That's my point, because you say this, okay, but but
there are other just do the woman, man.
Guys that believe different, right? There's some people that believe different.
There's no Orthodox Jew that believes different. I mean, according to Jewish law, I mean, we have converts in our Bible. I mean, how can you deny it?
Yeah, I know.
The woman, though, that the man, you have to be born to a Jewish woman, right?
Okay, hold on. All right, Captain Planet, what are you saying?
So you have to be born through a Jewish woman, correct?
No, you don't have to. You could convert to
According
Judaism.
to the bloodline, that's how it's supposed to go, though.
No, that's tribal lineage. On Mount Sinai, there stood a mixed multitude of peoples. Even at the end of the book of Esther, it says that they were mityahadim. They became Jewish. The Persians became Jewish. You could convert. Jesus' great-great-grandmother wasn't born like from a Jewish woman. Ruth was what? From Moab, right? I mean, she was a Moabitess. I mean, does that mean that he's not Jewish? I don't believe in Jesus, but I'm just telling you that it's a thing, and you could become Jewish.
And I don't want you to get in your feelings. I'm about to ask you some questions, right?
All right.
Now, if we talk about Abrahamic religions, what's your thoughts on the plagiarism that is stolen from ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt, like the tree of life and the golden calf of Hathor? Like all the similarities of the whole polytheistic belief system of the tree of life, which the ancient Egyptians used, and now the Jews have taken it for their foundation, for their tree of life, and use it the same way. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, the Torah, as I don't know, like this will hurt the thought of or the thinking of many Jews, is not the 5 books of Moses. The Torah are the commandments within the 5 books of Moses. That is what was given by God. Nowhere in the Torah does it say that the narrative in Genesis came down on Mount Sinai. People may believe that, or that Moses wrote it by tradition, but the story of Noah and the flood, the tree of life, all that could not have happened, right? I mean, you could believe that it didn't happen, and it would not affect your relationship with God in one bit, because God requires obedience to his laws. And that's the extent of our religiosity. Paying tribute to those laws as they make the world a better place. And there's tradition in the text that we may have appropriated or not, because that also leads to the, if anything, it gives it more validity. That the Epic of Gilgamesh may mention a flood. Well, we mention it also. That there's a story of the tree of life. It could have been stolen from us. I don't care. That's not what makes Judaism better than Christianity and Islam. No.
What I'm saying is that it's all plagiarism. Now, just like the Quran talks about how Allah and the Surah of Nums, when they talk about the star, they talk about how the Muslims, the ancient Arabs, used to worship the same stars the ancient Egyptians, Sirius. Then it also how it was labeled how it's labeled in there. Like, I'm just saying though, bro, if Abraham created,
but you Israelites are a bit loony.
I'm not an Israelite, bro. I don't believe in all that religion shit is plagiarism.
Kind of like that. You're kind of speaking like that. So
no, it's in the Quran, bro.
All right. I mean, I gave him my response that my religion doesn't hang on how accurate the story of the flood is.
One final question, then I'll go. Yeah. So I'm not here to debate. I'm not here to argue. You know, it's not like Christian Life where you go and they try to disprove them, because we believe in your books as well. So my point is that, according to you, if someone, like, for example, me, if I believe in one God, will I enter heaven if I die, or do I have to follow what Judaism says?
What is Judaism, or what do you think Judaism says on the topic?
So, for example, like we believe that if someone is say Jewish and he's never been sent the message and he believes in one God, that he will go to heaven, as long as he's been, someone's isolated, someone's living in a different region and they've not had the message of Islam, or if they believe in one. The only thing that we believe is that if you don't believe in the oneness of God, that's the only thing that cannot be forgiven. Everything else will be forgiven, and the last person to enter heaven is a person that has a grain of faith. So like a small grain of faith. So I'm thinking in the same concept, is there something Judaism that does that delivers the same kind of thing?
I think that's a great question. I'm here to tell you what the Torah teaches and what Jewish law, authoritative Jewish law, has to say on the issue. There's nothing in Jewish law, actual we call halakha, or the Torah, that covers that notion. It for sure doesn't say, I mean, it doesn't even embellish the notion of one God, meaning it says that God is one, but there are no embellishments on it. I consider what Muslims believe regarding monotheism to be cannibalistic monotheism, that you're willing to go to war with someone who may agree with you fully, ethically, with the same prophets and everything, only because they believe in some sort of complexity of the Godhead. They also believe in one God, but over something so trivial, it's hard to believe that if the guy knew nothing about anything and was probably an unethical person, but he believed in one God, that's enough to get him into heaven. If there even is a heaven, because the Jewish Bible doesn't talk about it, I believe in it. I'm just trying to be accurate to the text. And halakha doesn't talk about belief. It only talks about what you do. So I don't know. I think God would be unethical if he would separate the world between monotheist and polytheist, instead of separating the world between the ethical and the unethical. The truth is, what you call polytheism amongst Christians is not really polytheism. I mean, it's really how you say shirk. So shirk in Hebrew is the word shituf. So shituf means partnerships. It's a partnership. It makes, one unit. So it's for sure not different gods. I know when you're trying to drive the point home to make Christians drop Christianity and enter Islam, you make it seem like they're worshiping Dagon over here and Baal Peor over there, right? But to be honest, that's not where they're worshiping. I'm not a Christian, but I'm trying to be extremely honest. God tells us that he's one. I dig it. I accept it. I don't believe in the Trinity. I think it's a silly idea. However, I don't think it's idolatrous or heretical. I just think it's silly. The reason why is because according to Jewish law, heretics and idolaters have to in some way either be unalived or we don't extend their life. That means if they fall into a pit, we don't pull them out and stuff like that. So it's hard for me to believe that God would separate the world like that.
Yeah. Okay, but we believe. So you guys don't believe that the Trinity is idol worship. You think that it's still some form of Godhead?
No. Some rabbis said yes, some rabbis said no. The notion doesn't appear in the Talmud. In terms of halakha, what we call the oral law, that this has to stem from the Talmud, specifically the Mishnah. If the Mishnah doesn't cover the topic, it's not set in stone. There's rabbis like Maimonides, which you quoted before when you said that a Jew is allowed to pray in a mosque. This is only Maimonides who said this.
Hello?
No other rabbi before him ever said this. Why? Because back then, Jews believed that Muslims were idolaters. Maimonides didn't believe that, okay? Just like the European rabbis didn't believe Christianity was idolatry. Rashi, I mean, for those who know what I'm talking about, Rashi, Tosfos, the Ramah, the Ashkenazi approach is that Christianity is not idolatry. But for some reason, when it comes to modern day Judaism, people hold like the Rambam because they just dislike Christians.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah. What's up?
So who was the Pharisees in the Bible?
So we don't know. In the Talmud, there's 7 different types of Pharisees.
It said right here, Matthew 23, 6, 2 and 6, it says...
Yeah, but that's not my Bible. I mean, I don't believe in what the New Testament says.
But it's in all Bibles.
What? Yeah, it's not in the Jewish Bible.
But they clearly talking about the Pharisees, which is Judaism, which is the rabbis, and God was telling his people not to.
Yeah, in the Bible.
Right, and he was telling his Hebrew Israelites to stay away from it because they preach the word, but they don't do what they preach.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Not all Pharisees, by the way, because I think Nicodemus was also a Pharisee.
And Judaism came out in the 1st century.
No. I mean, this is what Christians believe.
I'm reading about it right here.
You're reading in the New Testament, and it.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about on different blogs, and they telling me Judaism started in the 1st century.
So what was it called before? Or like, what did they identify as?
The Pharisees.
All right. So the Pharisees may have arisen in the first century. Nowhere in the Talmud, in the whole Talmud, do one of our sages identify as a Pharisee. They make fun of the Pharisees in the Talmud because they were seen as an ascetic group. That it says that they would walk into walls because they didn't want to look in the direction of a woman. Right? It makes fun of the Pharisees. Okay, but there were different types of Pharisees. But yeah, I don't view myself as an extension of the Pharisees.
That's what y'all generally come off from. That's what rabbis and the synagogue. That's what rabbis and y'all. That's what y'all is. Judaism. Y'all's Pharisees.
All right, bro. I mean, that once people start repeating themselves, I mean, it's just whatever. All right, let's keep it going, guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Rabbi. I think what a lot of these people don't realize is that the Old Testament, and its translations, their bastardized mistranslations, and the New Testament are not what we follow. We don't care what the Old Testament says or the New Testament or their interpretations therein. We follow the Torah. And they have a hard time with that.
It's not a sophisticated idea. I think like my contribution here is not to tell you what to think, but to help people think in a more religious, consistently ethical manner, and to introduce some sort of systematic theology in Judaism, because most rabbis don't do that. I mean, most rabbis just regurgitate what their rabbis told them, but don't break down what Jews actually believe. So and there's some rabbis who will confidently identify with the Pharisees and say, yeah, we killed Jesus. Yeah, this and that, without even knowing what the heck you're talking about. Right.
Well,
whatever was done to Jesus was unjust. And I'm not a believer in Jesus, but he wasn't liable to death penalty for this. Okay. I mean,
correct. But even in the death of Jesus, through the translations, I mean, he wasn't nailed to a cross. Even through the translations, that was inaccurate. It had to do with, I don't remember what it was. Something's tied about his feet, and when it was translated, I think it was into Greek. You can tell me if I'm wrong. He then became nailed to the cross. Another perfect example is the Virgin Mary. The Virgin Mary, in its original form, before it was translated, she was Al-Hama, which is a maiden. And then when it was translated, I think into Greek, she became all of a sudden Bitula, which is virgin. So my point is the translations do a lot of damage to historical context. Unlike the Torah, which has never been translated, we have translations of the Torah, but we don't depend on those translations for laws and rules. We go back to the original writings of the Torah, which haven't changed in 4,000 years or whatever it is.
All right. So wait, hold on. So, I mean, Jesus was crucified with nails. This is the whole story of doubting Thomas, right? I mean, stick your finger, right?
Listen, that's according to that's their story. That's fine. I mean, I don't know.
Right. And also the whole Betula versus Alma, that's only in the Hebrew of Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14.
Correct. But it was translated from that, though, where she became from a maiden to a virgin. You can believe whatever the hell you want. I mean, I don't care.
No, I'm just telling you. I mean, I know Christianity. I'm just trying to be accurate. But yeah, my friend Biblical Apologetics is gonna set you straight here.
My point is, you can, not you, but one can believe whatever he or she wants.
Within reason. I mean, if you're gonna call yourself a Christian, there has to be some level of accuracy in how. Anyways, go ahead, Courtney.
I got where you're coming from.
So really fast. The word alma or alamot is only used about 7 times in the Hebrew Bible, and all 7 times you can't show that she's not a virgin. So virginity would be assumed on a.
So you can't prove a negative?
No, you can't prove based on the culture, based on the word usage. So it's not like you're trying to prove a negative. The point being is you have to look at the context of the way the word is used throughout the scripture. If the scripture gives a qualifying, like she had never known a man, or she had this, that, and the next, that's how we know what these words mean.
Well, let me correct you on that. There's a Hebrew term for virgin, which is betula. So if
yes, I'm aware. Betula can, first of all, Joel 1 doesn't describe a betula. Okay, so it describes that she weeps. Now, there's a couple interpretations. It describes that she's weeping for the man or husband of her use. First of all, the word Baal in regards to a man is never used to an unmarried man. So you would have to wonder why it is that you have this virgin that is weeping for her husband. You only have two interpretations. Either they got married and she never consummated the marriage, therefore she weeps for her husband, or she is a long time married to him, he finally dies, and then she weeps for the man of her youth, the husband of her youth.
Yeah, but the word elem is the English version of alma, and it does refer to a man who's not a virgin.
No, it's only used twice of King David, and you can't show that he wasn't a virgin. This was before he went off to war.
Okay, you can't prove a negative. I also can't prove that little green men don't live in Cincinnati.
Brother,
I can say that they don't because there's no evidence that they do. So what you're saying is that they call al-Hama, but you can't say she wasn't a virgin. That's trying to prove a negative. What I'm saying is if words have meanings, even though in Hebrew sometimes they have the pieces of the words may have different meanings, but combined together they may have a different meaning. But bitulah, and the rabbi, my Hebrew's horrible, so you might be able to correct me, but bitulah is virgin. So if
I just gave you a reason to show you that it's not.
No,
brother.
but you're reversing it though.
Guys.
No,
Look,
I'm not.
I'm going to tell you something. I don't believe in the virgin birth, clearly. However, the notion of virgin births is not foreign to Judaism.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to be extremely, honest here, painfully honest. In the Torah, what do you call a woman who can have children, right? And then miraculously God gets her pregnant, right? I mean, this is what happened with our matriarchs more than once, right? Just like the notion is not so far-fetched. I don't believe in Christianity, but we have to use equal scales here. Some people say, well, this notion is completely Greek and foreign. It's not true. I mean, Rebecca, couldn't have a kid. She prayed.
Well, Rabbi, those are two different situations.
No,
Rabbi,
I know, but it's similar. I mean, it's not.
It's not, because in the original scripture, in the original biblical Hebrew of Mary, she wasn't referred to as a virgin at all. She was referred to as a young maiden, a young woman.
Right? What are you talking about, bro?
All right. No, I'm just trying to say that we have bigger issues with traditional Christianity than just like a virgin being with child. I understand that the average counter missionary has to give a response for every little thing, but some things, like sometimes we should just focus on the big issues and not worry about such little things, which will build resentment later on when they do find out that we do have similar ideas and are being intellectually dishonest just to make a point.
Well, right? I think the point I'm trying to make is that I was on a live with a guy that I know. He's Israeli, and he was talking to some guy about the King James version of the Bible, and they were going through in Hebrew and in English, and the changes from the original text in Hebrew to King James was remarkable.
Are you talking about Yaakov? His name is Yaakov.
Most Israelis, don't know the Bible too well.
Yeah, I don't know.
He doesn't know. Like, I had a live with him. If it's the same person, I can tell you.
It's not. I don't think it's him.
Okay.
No.
Well, either way, I can
assure. I know it's not him. Yeah.
Okay. So, all 7 times, you're saying the word is changed. The word was not changed. So the word in Greek is parthenos. Whenever the word in Greek is parthenos, the majority of the times it does mean virgin. So that's why you think there's a change. There's no change. When you take a word and you then put it into another language, you're going to try and find the most equivalent word to the one that the original language is in. And so that would have been parthenos within the Greek. Okay. So
right, but the original text refers to her as a maiden, not a virgin. That's my point.
Sir, that's what I'm trying to exegete here with you. I'm trying to tell you the word alma or alamot, plural, you cannot show based on the context of the 7 times it's used within the passage that it's not a virgin. You would assume virginity.
In other words, I can't prove a negative.
No,
that's
sir.
what you just said.
You can't really assume the virginity, but I get what you're saying. You can't really tell if it's a virgin or not at the point that it's being said.
You're saying I can't assume that she's not a virgin.
Okay,
what
let me
ask you. I can't assume she doesn't drive a Honda either. I mean, these are all things.
Not understanding how to properly exegete the Bible. I'm going to say this one last thing and ask you a question. How do you know what the word worship means according to the biblical text?
I'd have to think about it. I don't know.
Okay,
I can't give you an answer.
I appreciate your honesty, but I'll explain. The way that you know what the word worship is that the first time it's used, there's typically a qualifier that dictates the way that the word would throughout the scriptures. And each time the word is used, there may be another qualifier and or not. So that's how you develop an apologetic and exegete a passage to find out the semantic range within a word.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay, hold on.
Listen. I find that when people try to overcomplicate that which is very simple and they sort of lose their credibility.
Yeah, hold on.
Point
to argue on Shai's behalf here, he's got a point if he brings this up, that the context of Isaiah chapter 7:14, it seems to be Isaiah and his wife having children and naming them to in some way comfort Israel in the direction that God's leading Israel. And
right.
In that context, it doesn't seem like she's a virgin in that context, because she keeps on having kids. And then I lay with the prophetess, and then she has another child. His name is Yishmaryahu. So in that context alone, at least regarding context, it's hard to argue that this is a virgin that he keeps on sleeping with.
No, it's not. You and I have already had a conversation with this, Asher. Remember, it's on my channel.
I don't even know you, woman.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Okay, it literally seems like it's in the perfect tense, but the fact of the matter is, Rashi then interprets that to be the person, the prophet's wife in chapter 8. However, if you look at the context of the word alma, it is never a woman who has already been married. I dare you to find one. It is never a woman.
In context.
Hold on. It is never a woman who has already had a child.
You're changing.
No, I'm not. Read the Asher, bro, I will debate you on this till the cows come home.
Asher, we can't hear you. You're muted or something.
You're muted, Asher.
Asher, you're muted, Pop. We don't hear nothing you're saying.
Something's wrong.
It's on pause.
God said, hold up, Asher, be quiet.
Biblical, are you Jewish?
No, I'm a Torah observant Christian.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
You're paused. Try it again.
But my phone began to ring right when I was making my point. Okay. So in the context that Isaiah chapter 7:14 is speaking about was an event that occurred in the time of Isaiah, right? So if it's talking about something in the present and something in the future, it's hard to believe that someone back then had a virgin birth and someone in the future, i.e. the Virgin Mary, also had a virgin birth, right? Because the Virgin Mary talks about a virgin birth where the child became Lord and Savior, and the other one just died. So in context, it's even logical for a Christian who believes in the law of double interpretation to say that in context, this is just a woman having a child. However, prophetically, it's talking about the Virgin Mary.
Okay, Asher.
Asher, do me a favor. Can you boot Stephen? He just said something stupid in Hebrew. I don't know if you can read it or not.
Wait.
Such a moronic comment, Stephen. You're stupid.
So.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, Courtney, go ahead.
To understand how Isaiah 7:14 is messianic, inside the passage, which is historical in the context going on with the Civil War, you would need to understand the promise of Genesis 49:10. You need to understand that they're about to go into exile. You look in chapter 6, this is the first time Isaiah is called to be a prophet. In order to be a prophet, to make long-term prophecies, you first have to prove your ability to be a prophet on the short-term prophecies. Within Isaiah, hold on.
Oh my God.
Say that.
Huh?
Yeah, but it didn't say that anywhere.
How would you know, Asher? So this is the exact reason why you don't take the prophets to be a prophecy of an almanac, right? So what does a prophet need to do? A prophet needs to first prove that he is a prophet. In the way that he would do this, he would prophesy something in your time to happen. That would happen. That is then why you have the Sanhedrin or the rulers at the time that say, okay, Isaiah was right in this regard, so he must be right in this prophecy that's going to happen, into exile.
Yeah, but it's not written like this anywhere.
Right.
I mean, it makes no distinction between short-term and long-term prophecy.
Isaiah 7 does.
Long-term prophecy.
Isaiah 7 does.
No.
You have to look at
Okay. So was Isaiah 7:14 talking about an event in the time of Isaiah?
No, not verse 14. Verse 8, yes.
The whole story is, that whole segment is, but Isaiah chapter 7:14, when the Israelites heard it, they didn't know what the heck he was talking about.
No, Isaiah, the whole chapter, verse 6 tells you the fear that they have, that they're going to invade, that is Israel, is going to invade Judah and make the son of Tavia, they're going to tear apart the land. You know that breaks the Torah, right? Yes? It's a command in Deuteronomy not to move the boundaries of your forefathers. Yes? Yes.
No. Wait. No.
Yes.
No,
You're
what are you
not
talking
allowed.
about?
Judah can't take over Gad's land. Gad can't.
Oh, yeah, but that's not okay. You
Hold
could
on.
expand the borders. Yeah, I mean, you could move the borders. Yeah, but okay, yeah.
Okay, so there's
You could
that.
expand it, but every 50
Again,
years,
I think she's got because she's reading the translation and it's losing value. I think it's losing meaning.
She's not being clear, like in what she's saying. You could move the boundaries, but every 50 years it goes back. You know, so I mean, it's not a permanent.
You can lease. You can lease the land. That's not the same thing as moving a boundary.
Regardless, if it goes back to the original borders, it means it was never moved permanently to begin with. Yes,
sure. That's the reason why Numbers 36 and Numbers 27 exist, because if, like, with the daughters of Zelophehad, the daughters
don't
of
change the just.
No,
I mean, keep
I'm
on going with your points.
Okay. Hold on.
No, you're making claims that aren't backed up. You said that there's a distinction between short-term prophecy and long-term prophecy. There's no distinction. You're saying that with the chapter breaks. Wait, hold on. You're saying that with the chapter breaks that exist nowadays, the Jews knew that Isaiah 7:14 was talking about something in the future, but all the other verses were talking about something in the present. That also doesn't say it. Okay, because Jesus was never called Emmanuel, right? And this individual
neither was Mahershala Hashbaz. He was never called Emmanuel. Neither was Isaiah. Nobody was called Emmanuel. That's what you're missing.
No. Every one of the names that were given to the children of Isaiah meant something to them. Emmanuel was saying that God has not abandoned you; He's with you. Shmaryahu is like God still listens to you, right? All these things are titles. Not that these kids were, "Hey, Emmanuel, come over here." Every Jewish name, as you know, is God in some way comforting His people, right? I mean, it's
right.
It's a big leap of faith to agree with me 90% and then 10% say, well, this verse is only talking about Jesus, right? I mean,
I don't agree with you. That's why I have a video. You don't remember the video that we did together years ago?
Well, what are you talking about?
When I was on your show, you asked me to explain my position on Isaiah 7, and I tried to explain it. You kept having the trolls interrupt you. It's on my channel. You know it's there. Anyways.
You can hold like this. I just don't see it holding much water.
Right? I'm trying
to
help
make a distinction.
So you can see it's holding water, but you interrupt me.
Well, because you keep moving the goalposts. You keep bringing up other things.
I'm not moving the goalposts. I'm trying to explain.
There's no distinction between short-term and long-term prophecy in the Bible. The idea of validating someone as a prophet is that if someone says God's going to destroy this place, i.e., if you don't change your behavior and it doesn't happen, that's how you know it's a false prophet. It's not like once we accept you as a prophet, we accept everything you say. Okay, you know.
Where's that in the Bible? Where's that in the Bible? Where does it say once we accept you? Where is your version of the prophets in the Bible?
Okay, the burden of proof is on you because you said there's a distinction.
No.
There's no distinction made. Okay, prophecy is accepted on whether it's true or not, and it's not like Nancy Pelosi that you have to pass the bill to know what's in the bill. Okay.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that, Asher. You're adding to my words. Isaiah 7 has 3, and you know this. It's proven within the Bible. 2 Kings 16 through 18. 2 Kings 16 through 18 proves the historical context that I'm trying to get in there and show you. So you have roughly a 4-year term where Ahaz is ultimately within the time that he dies. Then you have a 65-year prophecy for which is the carrying away into exile, the first exile with Assyria. Okay. And then you have this longer term prophecy, which is verse 14. Okay. That is essentially God saying, listen, if we know the Mashiach was going to come, bear with me. We know the Mashiach's going to come. Okay. And the line of David would not fall apart until Mashiach comes. Genesis 49:10. Okay, everybody check it out. Genesis 49:10. Now I know you don't.
Rabbi, I think you're losing people with all this. It's way into the weeds.
Losing people. Then I'm sorry.
It's apologetics.
No, I'm letting you speak. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had she seems very nice and very knowledgeable, but
no,
she's
Let me ask you a more important question. Like, why do you have that picture? I mean, are you a black man? Here, Courtney is black actually. And she appropriates a picture of a white woman, right? But are you?
I just like James Brown. Are you talking about me?
Yeah. Okay.
I just like James Brown. Okay. I had my dog on there last week, so.
Okay. All right. No problem.
I had my friend of mine, and I don't put my picture up there, but no, I just like James Brown. Anyway, I think biblical. She seems very nice and everything, but she's getting into the weeds, and I think
she's extremely intelligent.
Yeah, clearly. Well,
This is not
I
the
don't.
first time. Like,
She knows.
but she has
don't
an
know.
agenda, and I have an
Yeah,
agenda too.
she has a point. I mean, I don't know if she's
Yep.
intelligent or not. She seems to be. I don't know if she is, but she knows this stuff.
All
But
right.
she has a point
Okay.
to make. She has an agenda. Yes, Rabbi. You're.
All right. There. Out of respect for Courtney.
Oh,
Courtney,
cool.
just make it short and sweet. Just go ahead.
So the point that I'm getting, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Y'all can hold to your point, but if you want to hear a decent messianic application to Isaiah 7, which doesn't, toss out the historical context of the civil war going on, it's this: they're about to go into exile. The promise of Genesis 49:10 is being thwarted. Verse 6 of Isaiah 7 tells us this is the fear they have, that they, meaning Israel, is going to come in and seat someone else on the throne of David. Now, you know that God promised that no one else but a son of David would sit on that throne. So if that, hold on. Yeah, I know, not anymore. Again, Genesis 49:10. But that would be a problem, because then that would break what Hashem said that he would establish. And so the promise then comes in Isaiah 7, verse 14, that even unto the time that my Mashiach will come, and I believe that's Jesus. Full disclosure, everybody should know that. I believe that's Jesus.
It's the only.
I'm done in just 5 seconds.
Yeah, if you're saying it like in the way, like in this, I'm allowed to disagree on. But go ahead.
What do you mean allowed to?
No, you're
Asher,
saying, okay, in this, it's a leap. Almost everything you said was a leap. I mean, with Genesis 49 talking about Mashiach,
it does talk about Shiloh. You know that.
Right, and Shiloh has nothing to do with Mashiach. Okay?
Yes, it does. You're the only one that doesn't say that.
Oh my God. I mean, it's even
until
like Shiloh, like to him. It's okay. See, that's a leap also. Only because most Kabbalistically inclined rabbis think that Genesis 49 is talking about Mashiach. I don't even think. Well, so you think that I'm alone in saying that the idea of the Messiah is not literally in the Torah?
No, you hear my debates. You know what I'm not saying it's not literally in the Torah. So HaMashiach, that's the first Mashiach in the Torah, and it's, go figure.
I know that you don't believe my claim, but you claim that Are you claiming that I'm the only one who claims that the notion of Mashiach is not in the Torah?
No, I'm stating that you are the one to say that Genesis 49:10 against the bulk majority of Judaism, which
there's only two verses used for Mashiach literally in the Torah. Genesis 49 and like Deuteronomy chapter 18. So you're saying I'm right about Deuteronomy chapter 18, but not Genesis 49?
No, I'm saying that you tend to take a different approach, claiming that Shiloh.
You were about to say literally.
You keep interrupting.
You were about to say that I was going to take it literally because that hurts your argument. Because literally, it's not talking about a Messiah.
Okay, what? Okay, take it literally. Let's take it literally then. Go. Take it literally.
Take it literally. We don't know what the heck it's talking about.
Oh, but you know it's not Mashiach. You know
for sure it's not Mashiach because it's a later developed idea.
No, it's not a later developed idea.
It is.
Mashiach, I mean, to be honest, it's contrary to the Torah narrative. Because first of all, okay, but you do agree that Mashiach is a king, right?
That is a later developed idea, but that even yes, it is, because Israel said, "Give us a king like the rest of the nations." Right. Otherwise, Kohen HaMashiach is the developed idea within the Torah of a Mashiach, which essentially is the anointed high priest, and this is from the idea where you get Melchizedek with Yeshua. So no, completely. The idea of him being a king is a later developed idea, which is when
hold on. I mean, when Melchizedek, it's a later.
Oh man, why can Christians just have the idea to themselves? Like, why do we have to impose the scriptures?
No, that's the purpose of the show. I mean, to have them bounce their ideas off.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, like, it would be much easier, like, if I'm a Christian, just to believe in Jesus without imposing anything else. Just say,
I haven't imposed anything,
hold
bro.
on.
I ain't trying to force you to believe.
I think you do have to take a lot of scriptures into your own definition to make it mean your own way, because that's called interpretation.
Then debate me on it.
Wait, no.
Well, there's nothing to debate.
I will.
All right, you're pulling an Asher Meza here. Okay, it's okay. Your Courtney will debate anything that moves. Okay, no, that's a good thing.
Then I'll lay down.
All right, I don't know what that means, but look, I like this format. Most people cannot share their ideas without the host losing their temper.
Agreed.
Courtney is extremely intelligent. Her videos and her reputation speaks for. I mean, her being one of the smartest women alive in religion. Okay, that 100%. I'm not convinced, right? And all I have to do is stick to the literal understanding of the text to make my point. That's it. If you separate the world between developed ideas and what we call pashat, pashat is king and it always wins. And Jews do the same thing. Jews take ideas in the Torah, what they'll call it like an asmachta, but they'll take one foreshadow here and build a whole law on it and incorrectly say that it's from the Torah when it's not. Okay. And I believe in Torah Shabbal Peh, but we have to make a distinction between what's literally there and what's not. The notion of Mashiach is a later developed idea, okay? And it only exists in the context of a king. That's the only way Israel could have tolerated it. I believe the early belief was that it was God walking amongst people. It was an incorrect belief that Onkelos and like many people, fought against. But it's grounded in the idea that it's going to be someone like David, that he's going to come and save us, all right? I think being that it's optional to have a king, because the Torah says that kings aren't even anointed. The notion of anointing kings is part of Torah Shabbal Peh, but it's not part of the Torah itself. So then why should we assume that this was prophesied from the beginning, even before there was Torah Shabbal Peh? So that's it. It's a very subtle point. I'm not saying she's completely wrong. I'm just saying that it's not enough for a good God to condemn you to hell for not believing. That's it. I'd say continue to Courtney, but then she's kind of like,
Oh, no. I'm obviously
take the
not going to
gloves
be able
off.
to finish. I'm not going to be able to finish my.
No, you see, all we have to do is show that there could be a different reading of the text to be justified by a good God. That's it. And the Jews have that alternative reading, and it's called Pashat. What does it literally say? This is why.
Yeah. I feel you. I'm big on the Pashat, right? I try not to dive too deep, right?
Yeah, but I'm not condemning you, okay, or my belief system, so it doesn't condemn you for believing.
You gotta
in
let
Jesus.
me finish.
No, right? Well, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You do this so often. Okay.
I'm mansplaining. I'm mansplaining. Go ahead.
Yes. I'm glad you said it, not me. Okay, 10 seconds and I'm done. I do my best to explain something within the historical context, which is why I believe, in my humble opinion, my approach on Isaiah 7 and the apologetic therein is much more true to the text than, let's say, something from Dr. Michael Brown. Okay? I do my very best to acknowledge, yes, this context is the Civil War, but it doesn't mean a single verse inside of that chapter cannot be speaking of the future redemption through the Messiah.
Okay.
And I know you don't believe in a Mashiach to come. I get that. I know that. But
I believe in the Rambam's understanding of Mashiach, which is a little different. But it's fine. I just still think that. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Rambam is Torah Shabbal Peh.
Rambam is not Torah Shabbal Peh.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah, the Rambam existed from 1135 to 1205 of the Common Era. Torah Shabbal Peh is typically understood. I understand a Kabbalist would probably disagree with me, but as someone who's built a reputation as being a purist within halakha, it's the rulings of the Beit Din Hagadol, men who had smicha going all the way back to Moses, and ruled under different courts. They were known as the Anshe Knesset Gedolah.
We'll talk in a second. Finish with Courtney, and then we'll talk.
Okay. All right.
I'm done. Y'all could go at it.
Yeah. So, one could say that the Rambam is Torah Shabbal Peh because he's teaching Torah Shabbal Peh. So the Rambam.
First of all, start from the beginning. Start from the beginning. So all I know is that I came onto your TikTok and I see, did you know you can become Jewish? Judaism is better. What's your agenda?
My agenda is to let people know that conversion is possible, and if they're looking for some sort of ethical outlet in this world, perhaps they may want to consider becoming Jewish.
Okay, so this is my take on it. And no, I'm honestly I'm with you. No disrespect. This is just a pure conversation's sake, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm Jewish, right? And whatever that means to different people, but I am from the Jewish culture. I'm from the Jewish nation, and my mom's Jewish, whatever. So
are you religiously Jewish?
Yeah, I'm not actively religious, but I'm Jewish.
Okay, right. So not religiously Jewish. Okay, just culturally Jewish.
No, I'm not religious. No. Okay. So basically, what I wanted to say about that is because you could ethically and believe in Judaism, believe Judaism has correct what they're saying, and you could believe a lot of different things about a lot of different religions. That doesn't need to make you a part of that religion. That could just make you believe that what they're saying is correct or has some truth to it and everything. That doesn't need to make you convert to that religion. Converting to Judaism is hard. There's no easy way to do it. it's hard. There's a lot of rules. There's the Torah is big. Like there's a lot of laws in the Torah. There's a lot of mitzvah in the Torah, and it's a lot of responsibility to become a convert. Because if you're gonna become a convert, you got to listen to the laws. Like, what are you gonna do? Become a convert, believe in the whole thing, and not even listen to it? What's the point?
Okay.
So this is basically. Let me finish. Okay. So basically, all I'm saying is, like, you could believe in the whole thing and you can do everything. You don't need to become Jewish. You all like that's required of you is to do what is required of a Noahide, like to keep the 7 mitzvot b'nei Noach, like to do what needs to be done, to be a moral and ethical, nice human being, and like to do all of that without becoming Jewish. Like to say like you can become Jewish, like I don't see the point of that. You don't like it when people say you can become Christian.
No,
so
I do
why
like
would
it.
you be saying you can become Jewish?
You know that's not halakhically correct, though, right?
Wait, hold on. I'm going to explain, but I'm going to try to, just to remember all the points you made. So if someone tells me they believe in God, right, deeply, it tells me nothing about the person if they don't make an attempt to do what God says.
Right.
Believing that Jews are superior or sophisticated or they have a nice belief system doesn't make the world a better place.
Right.
Picking up, the sword and marching alongside Jews to do what's right in this world, that's what makes the world a better place.
What do you think the...
Wait,
okay.
just let me finish. Okay. So by Gentiles taking the Bible seriously, it would force them to become Jewish, because the notion of the Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach doesn't appear in the Torah. It appears in Torah Shebaal Peh, but it's hard, even as an Orthodox Jew, to believe that someone could be considered ethical and righteous by only keeping 7 laws. Right? There's no law to honor your parents. There's no law to fight evil. It's only 7 laws. It's only really 6 laws and 1 law to enforce like the previous 6. Okay. So the notion of the Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach is the bare minimum that we tolerate from Gentiles to be allowed to live amongst the Jewish people. The bare minimum, right? Now, there's embellishments on that. We have the notion that if someone keeps the Sheva Mitzvot, they have a Chelik in Olam Haba. They're called the Chasidei Umot Olam, the righteous of the nation. There's a lot of embellishments on it. However, there's a distinction between being a Torah keeper, a full Torah keeper committed to keeping that Torah via a covenant with God, and someone who's just allowed to exist among you by keeping 7 laws that if they break any one of those laws, you have to execute them. Because it says that a Gentile who breaks any one of the 7 Noahide laws with 1 witness, with no warning, is executed. That's not something to aspire to. If you're convinced that the Bible is true, the only way to keep God's commandments is by converting. Because you can't, assuming there was a temple, you couldn't offer sacrifices. We have a mitzvah of it's called Yeshivat Yisrael, to build up Israel. Like you could only do that as a Jew. So
why can't you do that as a Jew?
What?
Why can't you do that not as a Jew?
So why would you? Well, okay. Why would you keep any of the laws that only Jews are allowed to keep as a Gentile? Right? I mean, we even have.
Why would you become a Jew to keep laws that aren't given to you?
Yeah, those laws weren't given to the Jews either.
Well, do you believe in Torah Shebiktav?
Yes, I believe in Torah Shebaal Peh and Torah Shebiktav. On Mount Sinai, the laws were given to whoever wanted to take them. This is why on Har Sinai, there was a mixture of the Erev Rav and Hebrews, and they all said what? They said Nasiv and Ishma together, and it says that there should be 1 law for the person who attaches himself and someone born there. The idea that the Torah is for Jews is a bigoted idea. The Torah is for whoever wants it. In the Haggadah, a month ago, what do we read regarding the wicked son? We tell him that if you were in Mitzrayim, you wouldn't have been redeemed.
Right.
Oh, I thought the Torah belonged to me. I thought I was the apple of God's eye. It shows only because you happen to have a Jewish mother doesn't mean you're important to God. Okay? It's only if you keep Torah. Yes, you're Jewish if your mother's Jewish. Karl Marx is Jewish. Trotsky is Jewish. Seinfeld's Jewish. Right? But that doesn't mean that you're in a covenant with God. So it benefits everybody if we had more ethical Torah-keeping Jews. I mean, it benefits you, right? I mean, you'd have cheaper kosher food, you'd have cheaper tuition. It's a win-win all around, right? I mean, there wouldn't be a shidduch crisis if there was more available, guys to marry. I think that you were taught otherwise.
About marching along with the sword now. You're just talking about what's convenient.
Sword, shovel, spoon, it doesn't matter. Just march. pick up your weapon and follow me, right? Because
So
making the world a
what
better
would you
place is a team
consider
effort.
that? Like, what would you? I'm just trying to understand. Like, what would you consider someone who is marching along and following you? Like, tell me what they would actually be doing.
So I consider Jews to be God's ambassadors on earth. Now, what does the Torah say?
How are
It
you
says,
someone who's Jewish?
wait,
Tell
wait.
me, how are you Jewish?
Okay. It says that by us keeping God's laws, all the nations of the world are going to marvel and say, what a wise and discerning people, i.e., that we should want to join them. The purpose of being Jewish is making the world a better place, leaving it a little better than we found it, right? Because that's what happens when people commit themselves to an ethical code versus to people who you just want to live by 7 laws. It's like, I mean, the Germans live by more than 7 laws. The communists live by more than 7 laws. I think
So do you want people to become like Jewish as in like
Torah
part of
keeping
the
Jews.
nation, or do you want
I
people
don't
to
care
become
about
Jewish
them.
as in part of the like doing what Jewish people do?
No, just
As
the
in
religion.
sticking to the actions.
The vast majority of Jews are not religious. Okay,
Right.
54%, according to this website called simpletoremember.com, 54% of born Jews identify as atheists. I don't want people to simply be Jewish because most Jews are not living up to what they should be doing. Okay, but yeah, I mean, I want people to live their life against some moral code, right? I mean, is it not? You have to be taught otherwise because I'm sure you believe in marketing.
So basically, you don't need people to be Jewish. You need people to live by a moral code.
Making the world a better place is a team effort. That's the whole purpose of the Jewish people. The reason that we're identified as a nation is because as a nation, we're able to burn the evil from amongst our midst, to be a light to the other nations. You're not going to do that on an individual level.
Hey, I gotta go. Thanks for having me on. Shalom.
All right, bye.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. But like as a team effort, as in like, because I know churches that practice that as a team. Like I know Christian churches, I know Catholic churches that practice that like as a team effort. Like they have like they all have like learning studies, they all have working on themselves groups, they all have all these things that are like for the love of other people and for the for the bettering of themselves and for the bettering of the people and the world, right? So
it makes sense.
What are they doing that is different that you want them to do?
See, your form of thinking, you were taught to think that way because naturally, if there's anything in your life that you find valuable, you automatically want to share it. Automatically. Only Jews are stuck in this area, and there's nothing in Jewish law that prohibits encouraging people to become Jewish. It's been part of the culture because the Gentile nations that we came out of didn't allow us to do it, and the Emperor Hadrian outlawed it, right? But it's not. It's a Jewish thing to say what's good for me is good for you. Clearly, because it would benefit us. If you don't impact the world's going to end up impacting you. Right. There's tons of Jews on TikTok who proselytize all day long. What they proselytize is Zionism.
Right.
And for some reason that's tolerated, but if you're going to proselytize Torah, that's a bad idea. If you would convert Muslims to Judaism, you wouldn't even have to make the Zionist argument anymore. And it's the only way to convince them because you're dealing with religion. You're not going to be able to convince them via logic. Change their religion and you'll make more supporters of Israel.
I get it. I just, whatever, my personal belief about religion coming from where I'm from, my personal belief about religion in general is just that everyone can live with their religion, and it doesn't have to be like your religion or my religion or this religion or that religion. We can all have one
equally trivial
goal.
because you're not religious yourself. But if you were religious and it changed your life, you'd want to take that and hand it to all your friends who are either sleeping around, who have drug problems, who need help in their life. But because you're not religious, you haven't found the value in it. Of course, you wouldn't want to spread it. And in the
Okay, so let's talk about me for a second, and then we'll talk about you. Okay, I used to be religious. I come from an ultra-Orthodox family. I used to be religious. I come from a Hasidic family and everything, right? So now I stopped being religious because I was doing drugs, because I was hanging out with all these people, because of that, right? Not keeping all of that, actually helped me put me in recovery, right? Because the laws weren't helping me keep me in my place. The laws were just helping me keep to a society that I didn't want to be part of. Do you understand that?
Yeah, well, so that society would look a little different if all your friends were welcomed into it. And by definition, it would improve because you're able to wash out the bad blood with the good blood. One thing that I don't endorse Hasidic movements for, or the reason I don't endorse these Hasidic movements, is that they're so insular and they view the world between them against us. And they're always going to hate us and they're always going to try to kill us.
Okay, I don't want to bash communities or bash like specific
You did already.
communities or anything like that, because I don't think that's necessarily going to help the world or anything.
Of course it will. Like, because you're basically telling people, don't become Satmar, don't become Toldos-Haran or Lubavitch. Okay, and Lubavitch, I make an exception because they do work in Kiruv and they're a little more colorful than the other groups, right? But yes, I mean, there's bad religion and there's good religion. I'm arguing for good religion.
Right. I understand that, but good religion is relative. Like, it's whatever you believe it to be.
No, I mean, it depends look. If you have a religion that cares about other people, that's helping people other than themselves, because even monsters love their own children, then I think we can honestly say that it's a force for good on this planet. Now, where are you from, Stamford Hill?
No.
Okay, all right. No, I'm just trying to think where in England are like groups that I consider primitive in Judaism. And I'm an Orthodox Jew, but I'm a modern Orthodox Jew. All right, so
I'm from Manchester.
Okay. All right. So Jonathan Sachs is not a Hasid, clearly, or wasn't. I mean, he passed away. I mean, obviously, so he's, someone who was more open, to working with other people, trying to just be a good in this world and not just be so insular. Like, there's bad Muslims and there's bad Jews, right? I mean, it's hard for someone not Jewish to say there's bad Jews because they get labeled, so.
Right. No, in every society, there'll be the good people and the bad people, and every culture and every religion and everywhere there'll be the good people and the bad people. It's just about, I guess, mixing out the blood, as you say, like mixing out the good and bad to achieve a result. And
washing it out.
What?
To wash out the bad blood. But these are words that most people don't say, that it sounds harsh. But one of my main goals with this show is to de-ethnicize Judaism. This whole thing that Judaism is falafel and shawarma, no, this is bullcrap, and bagels, right? No, Judaism is individual ethical training. That's it, and
I just think like arguing about Isaiah and all that stuff, like, I don't see how that's gonna help your show. But like,
right, I agree, 100%. I agree. Yeah, it's trivial. That's for sure. It's trivial. All right, it's Satan, hell, heaven.
Where you're coming from.
Yeah,
I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
What's up, bro?
I'm ringing. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. No, like my phone just shut off. I mean, right when I said goodbye, it's like, Anyways, fine. All right. Yeah, like bad ideas in Judaism have to be taught. I mean, it's natural. Man, if you find something good, I saw this movie, Cocaine Bear. Freaking funny movie. I mean, I haven't seen a movie so not politically correct in a while. Cocaine Bear, guys, check it out. I mean, it's not the most, kosher movie. But yeah, I mean, there's just this idea that we shouldn't teach Judaism, but at the same time, amongst ourselves, we say how beautiful Torah is, but it's beautiful for us, but it shouldn't be for you. So stupid. We have to share this planet with other people. Clearly, especially Alibaba. I mean, you're like a ladies' man. I mean, you'd have more kosher women to choose from, right?
Absolutely.
It's a no-brainer. That's it,
All for it.
Yeah, it just makes sense. You have to be taught otherwise. You have to be taught it. This is why no one could come on the show and make an actual argument, at least look, we know it's not prohibited in Jewish law. That itself should end the whole argument there from an Orthodox perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
That's exactly what I say. A lot of the times when people tell me, oh, you're not supposed to proselytize in Judaism, I was like, where in the 613 laws does it say that? Where in halakha does it say that? And they're like, oh, but my rabbi said, but they're just parroting what they've heard from somebody else, but they don't know the actual source to that prohibition, where it came from, where it's at, what it's about, anything.
I think, it's an interesting, Whatever. Welcome. Oh,
Hey,
Al, man, remember that show?
yeah.
Alien Life Form.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you, Pop.
Oh, sorry. I was Jewish. I was Jewish. I was raised Jewish. I think me personally, I still look at the Torah more as in terms of values in the values that we're trying to get. But I don't believe in any truth behind the Torah. So I'm curious if there's any information you do have that would make me believe in the other stuff.
But you mean the historical accuracy of the claims, right?
I'm sorry?
You mean that you don't believe in the historical accuracy in the events and characters that appear in the Torah? So, truth be told, you don't have to. What the Torah is not the 5 books of Moses, okay? The Torah are the commandments within the Torah. But that's what Torah means. It means instructions. It says that we have to, every 7 years, we have a festival called Hakel, or that we're supposed to read the Torah like to the whole congregation, right? But this is before the Torah was finished. So it's clearly not talking about the 5 books of Moses. The Torah are the ethical instructions within the Torah, the ethical and ceremonial instructions within the Torah. There's a rabbi's name was called the Radbaz. So the Radbaz writes in a tshuva that the only thing a Jew is required to do is the commandments. He's not even necessarily required to, espouse his belief in God, right? It's because we don't have such a religious test in our religion. Like Muslims have to proclaim certain things. Jews don't have to proclaim they believe in God. I mean, there's things that we recite, but if you're not convinced that God exists, God's going to punish you for something you're not convinced of. That's something that the Torah doesn't teach.
Yeah, no, that's exactly my problem with Christianity, and that's the reason why still, to some point, some follow the ideals of Judaism over other religions, is because I believe the ideals that are preached are good, and it's not like holding a gun to your head like other religions are. Like, if you don't give your entire worship with no proof, then you're gonna burn it for eternity. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's just.
Right. Well, nowhere in the Torah does it mention heaven or hell, and what you're doing is that you're paying tribute to where your ethics come from, and that's good enough. And that's the same Jordan Peterson argument, Dennis Prager argument, that you're arguing more for the necessity of a good God than for the validity of an infallible text.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the importance of God being good is more of an indicator of a God I would like to follow than a God that I believe is evil. Like the Christian God, I believe that's an evil God.
Well, I mean, he's illogical for sure. I mean, I wouldn't want a father to act like the father that appears in the
I feel my biggest issue with the Christian God is he allowed for the creation of Lucifer. And because he allowed for the creation of Lucifer, he allows tens of billions of people to eternally suffer forever. And I think that's worse than any other sin any human has ever done. So I don't think he's a God that should be followed, in my opinion.
In the book of Job, Eov, for whatever, Hebrew speakers out there, there's a reason why the Rambam says that this is just a parable. And there's many rabbis that believe that the book of Job, well, first of all, that we don't even know who wrote the book of Job. And the reason I'm mentioning it is that's the only book in the Bible that actually mentions Satan. Right. Meaning that it's not the word of God. Okay, it's just a parable. The only word of God are the specific commandments that appear in the Torah. That's what the Torah says. The Torah says that the revelation are the instructions, not the narrative. I think the whole story of Job is an unethical story. The idea that God makes bets on his creation and kills off his children, and it just sounds stupid and primitive.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but that's not the Torah.
Yeah, and then so I feel like a lot of religions kind of go down that rabbit hole, but I also believe that a lot of religions, a lot of the values that they are trying to get through are good values to be preaching. Like love your neighbor, love one another, be good to the world. Just kind of the fine details is where things get messy. That's kind of why I'm also I feel like Buddhism and Judaism are the two best religions because their fine details aren't as negative as other religions.
Right. All right. Well, so you should identify as an optimistic agnostic.
Yeah. Like I still don't believe in the idea of God, but I believe in following certain morals that have been laid out, I think that that's totally fine.
Yeah, well, agnostics don't believe either. I mean, they just don't have proof either way. There's no proof for God's existence, and there's no proof that he doesn't exist. There's evidence. Right? There's a distinction between evidence and proof. There's evidence that he does, and there's evidence that he doesn't. So that makes it a washout, philosophically. So the only thing we could argue is what we can all enjoy, and that's the benefits of living in a society that has been sensitized by Torah values. That's it. Christianity, I believe, is good. Islam, I believe, is good. I just believe Judaism is better.
Yeah, I think any community that's incentivized by the same values that Judaism is, I think that's a good idea. I think it should just be the values and not the religion itself being pushed on people, because, like you said, I feel like the values are more important than the fine details of the religion.
But it won't stick. That's the thing. You have people dissecting the Bible and building their own religion, but it's going to be man-made. There's a difference between believing something is right and knowing something is wrong. I mean, whatever. There's something known as religious knowledge, that once you're convinced of something to a certain extent, that you can say, I think it's wrong because a good God tells me it's wrong. Like, I've never had the best relationship with my parents, but I honor my parents because, I think God knows something that I don't, and that I should pay tribute that they gave me life, right? And I do it, and it's improved my life. I do believe in the Bible. I believe it. I just don't know. I think... Yeah.
And I think the biggest issue with forcing a religion on people is it's very, very difficult to prove your religion over somebody else's. Like, factually prove that your religion is the true one over someone else's, other than just comparing textbooks. And I think that's kind of the issue with the separation of church and state, is you can't prove that one religion is accurate, so you can't really prove that that's the religion you should be shoving down everyone's throats.
But I could prove that Judaism is a better alternative to Islam and Christianity, because they're both offshoots to my religion. And the only thing that makes Islam really great for everybody else on this planet are the ethics it appropriated from my religion. So if someone was looking to join one of the three major monotheistic religions, I'm not talking to Hindus or like Zoroastrians here, it would benefit them to go with the religion that actually houses the ethical well. And that's our religion. So this is why, if you were looking for a belief system that was ethically consistent, because Christians are ethical, but they're ethical via Jesus. They don't have access. They can't articulate exactly where the ethics come from. So it seems that from those three, Judaism is not perfect, but it's at least better than Christianity and Islam. And that's the whole point of this show.
Sure. No, yeah, I think that's a fair point. But then you also have to think the largest part of forcing, for example, Judaism down everyone's throats is some people that are Christian. You might say, hey, the better values these are the core values of your religion as well that we're preaching. And then you also have the atheists who will say, I'd say that a reasonable atheist would say, because I'm like atheist agnostic. I think a reasonable atheist would say, well, I believe the values they are preaching are good and beneficial. I don't believe in the idea that it is God that sent these down. I just believe that these were made by a man.
So if there is no hell, there is no forcing.
If there's no hell, there is no what?
There's no coercion if there's no hell.
Sure.
Yeah. So being that I never mention heaven and hell, because it doesn't even appear in our Bible, is basically me saying that it's just a good idea. That's it.
Yeah.
If you want something to hand over to your kids, because kids that grow up in some sort of ethical religious system live happier, more like benevolent lives, better lives than kids who don't, then give them a belief system that is more palatable, to you, in case that person belongs or that child joins some other belief system that you do dislike, like radical Islam, whatever.
Yeah. So here's my thing. I believe that all religions I believe the purpose of us being here is to create a better world. I think if you have another one of my issues with Christianity is that it is basically just saying that this is kind of a throwaway world, and that the only one that matters is the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of hell. And this is just kind of a trial. and it kind of teaches you to not really care about your life, the one life you have. Well, I think in Judaism, it's talking more about improving the world, improving your community, improving your family, and stuff like that. And that's yeah, I agree. But I also feel like you could teach those values in a non-religious way. You could just be like, hey, I think it's good for you to, I think it's good for you to just do these things. You don't really have to believe that there's a God, but these are good morals to be.
Well, good luck. I mean, good luck trying to spread that from an authoritative perspective to someone who doesn't already believe in the God of Israel. I mean, because they'll be like, okay.
I don't want to authoritate it over everyone.
No, that's what so they'll take it. They'll be like, okay, noted. That may be a good idea, but I'm going to keep on doing what I do. In terms of, you have to impact the world a little more. We're offering it to people who already believe in God, and in this case, the one God. You're just subtracting Islam and Christianity.
Me personally, I just think the idea of forcing any religion down anyone's throat has always been a bad idea, and I think it's been proven time and time again that we should just let people. In my opinion, I believe consenting adults should be able to worship whoever they want, whenever they want, wherever they want. I don't really think anything should be forced on anyone's throat.
I mean, I agree with you to a sense, and then I disagree with you to a sense, because you do understand that there has been many cultures in the past that have had their own distinct detrimental religions, right? Like there was a big religious cult that was within like India, Pakistan area where their religion was literally to sacrifice people to their god. You also had the Aztecs who sacrificed, I think, like 80,000 people in a year to their god, and they were doing that from capturing other tribes around them. So I don't know if necessarily not forcing religion is a bad thing. I think in all cases it's not as black and white. It depends.
Yeah, I agree. It can depend, but I think, like I said, I think that it's none of the government's business who you want to worship.
Oh, the government? No, absolutely not.
Oh, but that's in terms of ceremony. But in terms of ethics, you do believe it is in the government's interest to coerce people to be, somewhat ethical, right? I mean, you get arrested, you steal.
That's where I'll agree with you. I'll agree that the basic ethics set down by the Bible are good ethics to uphold, and I do believe that we do uphold them to some extent. Like murder's illegal. People. It's considered a good act to take care of your community. All of it's considered good things. I don't think anything in the Bible that's considered good anyone would not consider a good act. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple, but for the most part. So yeah, I agree that it should be.
Because we've been sensitized for so long.
You can find those bases of morals without the use of the Torah. That's kind of my point on that. You could just come to that conclusion.
Because we're entrenched in biblical values without even knowing it. I mean, look at the Soviet Union. Countries that tried to reinvent the wheel ethically basically just left a trail of blood and carnage. So it has been tried. It's better to stick with the belief system that has had a better track record, and that's the Torah-based belief system. What's your
Sure, yeah. I'm curious. What's your opinion about the anti-Semitism in this country?
So I think it's almost non-existent. Okay, in the vast majority, I mean, outside of the Black Hebrew Israelites, there isn't, and i.e. those. I mean, people who agree with like the Kanye West style, it's almost non-existent. And I'm someone on the right, politically involved with many groups that people consider white supremacists, anti-Jewish, from the Oath Keepers, 3%ers, the Proud Boys. I'm involved, or at least was involved in these groups. There's idiots in those groups, but even the tenets of all those three groups teach that if you espouse racist ideas, you're kicked out. So it's almost non-existent. The average Jew could walk around almost anywhere in this country and not be harmed.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think a lot of those things are slightly overblown, but I do think that, especially with Kanye, I do believe that he sparked a wave of anti-Semitism in our country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I gotta get going now. It was a great conversation.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem. Take it easy. All right. Yeah, I think I'm going to go and I'll be back later. All right, guys, thanks. We did more than an hour, I think.
All right, Rob, you take care of yourself.
Guys, follow the host. I guess you don't have to like the show right now, but follow the host. All right, cool.